So I'd love to introduce you in a sense of what it is that you do and like where did you start? Because obviously NLP is a really big part of what you do. And so for our listeners today, let's go on a little bit of a journey of how we have this overnight success that people are always talking about. Let's insert rolled eyes emoji there. But what is it that got you started on your mission to where you are today? Why NLP? And tell us a little bit more about NLP.
Yeah, so I think like if we could sort of work our way backwards and we started, where we're at now. So what I've been doing now for the past 3 years is training and certifying people in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, timeline therapy, and also hypnotherapy. So these are all just tools and ways that you can, use your own mind to influence yourself to think, feel, and act differently, however that is that you see fit. Now, like I said, that's been going on for about 3 years now. Absolutely love it, but it was never, ever like that. And this is actually probably one of the last things that, if you had have talked to me 10 years ago and said, hey, this is what you're going to be doing, I literally would have laughed in your face. All right, because if we, backtrack 10 years ago, I would have been working in, what am I now? I'm 31, so 21. I would have been a qualified butcher, working 60 to 70 hours a week in a butcher shop, right? Doing my thing, not really thinking about anything. Just go to work, go home, get drunk, go to work again, and do exactly the same thing 5 to 6 days a week, and that's all you did. You got 2 weeks or 4 weeks a year holiday, and on those holidays I'd go to fall driving or camping. That was my life for many years, right? So I got onto the NLP side of things, the self-mastery, the change side of things, literally when, I know this sounds weird, but when I was 9 years old, I remember being introduced to hypnotherapy for the first time.
Wow.
And it was a stage hypnosis show. All right, so back in the day, my parents said, all right, we're going to the, what do they call it? The pub down the road was called the Mellow. We're going to the Mellow. And there was a guy there called Ron Rico. Ron Rico was an old school, he's no longer with us, but he was an old school hypnotherapist. And we went there and it was an 18 plus only show. So obviously little kids, me being 8 years old, hey Luke, and all your friends, you're out in the playground. Don't come in here. What do you think an 8-year-old boy would want to do when you said, hey, don't come in here? It's the first thing I was like, why? What are you guys doing? Is it cooler than what I'm doing? So I got really, curious. I got really fascinated and I actually snuck in there when someone came out for a drink. I snuck in there, I set up the back of the room, and I remember watching this man literally perform magic. That's what it looked like to me as an 8-year-old boy. And he was performing magic on these people, getting them to do all sorts of weird things, thinking that they're tennis players and chickens and, they're hot and they're cold and all these sorts of things. And I was like, wow, this is so crazy. And I was thinking to myself, is this actually true or is it BS? Because this all just looks like, most of these people are drunk. You'd probably just ask them, they'd do something stupid. But then we were sitting there and he started to talk right at the very end. He started to talk about if he can get all these people, some of these people were lawyers and police officers and all sorts of different things. He said, if I can stand up here and do all these sorts of things from stage just by talking to them, imagine what good you could do for your own life. He said, maybe you'd want to quit smoking. Maybe you'd want to lose weight. Maybe you'd want to blah-de-blah. And he started rambling all these things off. And something stuck with me that night. He said, just remember, everything is always in your mind. And that's how he closed his show. And I buggered off out the door because I was like, I don't want to get caught. Mum and Dad, I'll get in trouble. So I buggered off and I didn't really think that much of it. 8 years old, then goes on to, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, all these sorts of things. You experience, different things within life. And I got to a really challenging stage when I was probably 16, because I wasn't really a kid, but you're definitely not like an adult when you're 16, but you think you are. And I started hanging around some pretty, amazing people that were doing very dumb things, drugs and lots of alcohol and all those sorts of things. And my biggest sort of, curse and superpower is being able to do things really well that I want to, if that makes sense. Right? I've got this sort of addictive personality that if I really like it, I'm going to go for it. And it started out with, smoking at school and all those sorts of things. And then it started out, people getting drunk. And, my friend, 16 years old, they'd get like a 6-pack. I'd be like, a six-pack? What are you going to do with that? And then have one beer each. And I'd be that person that would get really loose, really, really drunk.
Unlike you were the same teenager.
Yeah, exactly right. It's a pretty universal sort of way of living back then. But then 16 turned into 17, 17 turned into 18, and that's where things got really weird because you're sort of an adult then. You're really responsible for your own actions. And by this stage, it was 3 years of going really, really full on with the alcohol, right? And it became a way of life. It became a way of dealing with my problems. And that's very destructive. It was very, very destructive for myself. And like I said, when I went into the butcher realm, the butcher environment, the belief was just drink like everyone else. Oh, you got problems with your girlfriend? Just drink like everyone else. Oh, you don't like your job? Just drink like everyone else. Oh, you don't like, how overweight you are because you live on cigarettes and Chico rolls and, cans of V? Just drink like everyone else. And it's a really scary thing because it's quite dangerous, to have those sorts of beliefs and those behaviors. And I'll never forget it. I mean, there's many, many things that happen, but this is sort of a very condensed version of it. I'll never forget it. I was living at my sister's house, and she had a double-story house. Down below was like the shed and garage area, and upstairs, obviously, the house. She had 2 kids. She had, a husband. She was a vice principal of a school there. She sort of had her stuff worked out, right? She's my older sister, so she's 6, 7 years older than me. And, many, many things happened, but she came downstairs one day and she gave me a look. I don't know if you've ever had this or, people listen to this have ever had it, but when someone looks at you and you just know something's wrong, you don't need to say anything. You don't need to understand anything. You just know. And that was a look that I got that morning. And it was weird because I would wake up and I'd still be drunk from the night before, but that look stuck with me. And I was like, oh, what was that? That was weird. If your mum or dad, they ever said, oh, look, I'm not mad at you, I'm disappointed at you. It's even worse.
Yeah.
That was this look because I looked up to Jamie, my older sister, as in, she was sort of my mum at that time. She was the one that was always looking out for me. And then I remember she went to work, I went to work, I came back and she was there and she was crying. I was like, shit, this is not good. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Fill me in. She wouldn't tell me for a while. And then all of a sudden she just blurted out, it's like, it's you. Like, it's you. You're the problem. You're my problem. You're my only problem. She says, I think, yeah, I know, right? Oh my goodness. And, she's a little lady, but I tell you what, she carries a big stick. Like when she talks, you listen. So I thought to myself, oh my God, what's going on? Me? Well, I haven't done anything wrong. Everyone else is doing everything to me, playing the victim, the blame game. And, it sort of blew up pretty quick. And she said, no, Luke, I think that I'm going to come home from work to my life, my family, the thing that I've worked so hard in and on to find you, hanging from the ceiling downstairs. She's like, I feel like I'm going to come home and you are going to have taken your own life because you are miserable. And, for people out there listening, this is a pretty common thing, right? Everyone experiences that chaos within their life. So this is my sort of experience of it, is I never knew how bad it was until that moment. And I was like, oh my God, it was the first moment, I think it was about 18, maybe 17. It was the first moment in my life where all the cameras, so to speak, that I had pointed out into the world, all turned back towards me. And I could see myself for the behavior that I was producing, and I was disgusted. I was everything that you could think of. I was like, dude, this is not who you are. I'm not a loser. I'm not an idiot. I'm definitely not stupid. I'm very intelligent. And, I can do whatever it is that I want. I proved that because I was doing everything it is that I didn't want. So it's like, just do the opposite. So that's what I started to do, right? And, that was a big, 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 big moment. And do you know what the first thing that popped in my head was? It's all in your mind. From that dude when I was 8 years old. Everything, I get goosebumps now thinking about it. It's like everything is in your mind. And then, a few more things happened. And I remember walking into the dingy little bathroom that I had in there. It had like a shower and a toilet, as bathrooms do, and a mirror. And I walked into the thing and I looked at myself and I actually saw who I was, not who I was behaving. Like I saw myself, not my behavior. And something really weird happened to me. I had this voice, I had this intuition, and you know, it said, or what I heard was, hey, you've created everything that you don't want. By default, you can create everything that you do want by doing the opposite. So literally from that moment, I started doing the opposite of what I was doing. I was like, right, my job, absolute bombshell. I went in, I quit my job that day. I said to Jamie, I said, look, I'm leaving, because my parents lived on the Gold Coast. I said, I'm leaving Hervey Bay. That's where I lived. I'm leaving Hervey Bay and I'm going to the Gold Coast. Now that was a very long time ago. I've been back to Hervey Bay twice since. All right. So, you know, many things happen within people's lives in order to get them where they are. And that was one of the biggest aha moments where I said to myself, hey, you need to start looking after yourself. And the self being the most predominant, important, and fundamental things of what I've, you know, worked on, discovered, learnt about, failed at, so to speak, you know, from then to now. So if you really sort of, you know, fast tracked it from then to now, you know, I started getting into Tony Robbins, and then obviously through Tony Robbins, I found out through NLP. Through NLP, I found out about, you know, more hypnosis. And then when I found out about hypnosis, I'm like, oh my God, I remember seeing, you know, old Ron Rico and really understanding how it all worked. But fundamentally, it was just, I suppose, like learning about change by falling on your face. That was the first thing. I didn't learn about change from reading books and going to events and things like that. You know, it was all about, well, no, you've got to sort it out yourself first, and then everything else come later.